This woman has an extremely awesome ability, which is to turn men into her slaves unconditionally. As long as he licks her fingers, even the weakest man can turn into a terrifying and powerful monster. However, as a price, she must give the slave the reward she wants, otherwise she will be completely powerless and allowed to be slaughtered. It turns out that a few years ago, a different space called the Magic City suddenly appeared all over the world. There were a large number of monsters that attacked humans indiscriminately and a peach that could give women superpowers. At this point, the world began to become where women were superior to men. As a student who is about to enter the society, Yuki has been trained by his sister since he was a child to become an expert at housework. But as a young man, he obviously didn't want to live his life in such an ordinary way. So just when he was thinking about how to show off his skills, he was suddenly enveloped in countless white mist. When the Yuki came to his senses again, he found that he was already in a strange magical city. This sudden accident made Yuki instantly confused. Before he could carefully check the escape manual on his phone, a terrifying monster suddenly appeared behind him. Without any time to think, Yuki began to flee quickly after struggling to avoid the attack of the monster. However, the terrain here was too complicated, and he was soon blocked by monster in the corner. Seeing that countless monsters were already close at hand, Yuki is completely desperate. At this time, in the shocked eyes of Yuki, the handsome woman manipulated monster under her to start a crazy killing. Under her sharp swordsmanship, the previously majestic monster directly turned into a lamb to be slaughtered. But the slave controlled by the helpless woman was too fragile, so she had to choose to retreat to the Yuki side first. Kyuka identity undoubtedly gave Yuki a great sense of security. Seeing countless monsters coming like a tide, Kyuka once again created a slave and then took the Yuki on a crazy escape. At this critical moment of life and death, Kyuka teammates also arrived in time. Among them, Ani's ability is to use his mind to check the surrounding situation. So based on the intelligence he provided, the two sides split into two groups. Kyuka took the Yuki to escape here first, and the others were responsible for sniping monster that were chasing after them. In the next second, Himari transformed into Gatling with his arms and began to attack the monster crazily. She was not to be outdone. His gigantic ability made a big hole appear on the ground with just one kick. At the same time, Yuki suddenly discovered the situation. A little girl was forced to the edge of the cliff by a monster. At this critical moment, the slave controlled by Kyuka successfully rescued him. However, because the slave's reaction was too slow, the three of them were eventually chased by monster behind them, so Kyuka was forced to draw his sword to fight. Unfortunately, the little girl was in danger again at this time. Seeing this situation, Yuki quickly used his body to protect her, followed closely by Kyuka's slashing attack. Seeing that the matter was urgent, Kyuka could only use spells to expand a simple barrier, but continuing like this was not an option. As more and more monster come up because of this incident, Kyuka has to turn his attention to Yuki. Although he has never used his ability on a man, he can only be a dead monster at the moment. So after Kyuka asked Yuki's name, he said that now he needed Yuki to contribute his strength. After hearing this, Yuki was of course very excited, and he said that he would do whatever was needed, ignoring the confused Yuki. Kyuka asked the little girl to step aside, close her eyes again, and then suddenly threw Yuki to the ground. Seeing Kyuka fairy jade finger stretched out, then Yuki's body unconsciously reached over. The moment the bodies of both them connected, a dazzling light suddenly enveloped Yuki. Later, under the witness of the moonlight, then Yuki regained consciousness and turned into a terrifying and strange white monster. Seeing this scene, Kyuka instantly became excited. He immediately rode on the Yuki ready to experience the performance of his new mount. And then Yuki also lives up to his expectations. With his strong physical ability, no monster is his enemy, and as long as Kyuka orders, the male protagonist can obey his orders without delay. It was his first time to experience such a smooth battle. Seeing that the two heroes are now invincible, the ugly ghosts have merged into a huge monster. Seeing this scene, Kyuka became excited again. With the end of the battle, then Yuki also changed from a monster back to a human. At this time, Kyuka obviously had something to say, so he ordered his teammates to leave here first. It turns out that this is the price of Kyuka ability. As the master, he is obliged to give the slave the reward he wants after the mission is over. Since Yuki performed very hard this time, Kyuka kindly asked him if he wanted to do it again. However, Yuki, who has been single all his life, had never seen such a scene, so when he refused in a panic, he unexpectedly knocked Kyuka away. And now he realized that the girl was actually not as indifferent as she appeared. In fact, Kyuka didn't want this, but his body didn't obey his orders at all. After the reward was over, Kyuka told Yuki that as long as the ugly ghost in the Magic City appeared in the real world, one would cause the sacrifice of dozens of people. Therefore, his goal is to become the captain of the demon defense team and drive away all the monster as soon as possible. Then Yuki has a way to maximize his abilities, so she hopes that Yuki can work hard for him. Facing Kyuka's true feelings, then Yuki, who has always hoped to show off his skills, will certainly not refuse. After all, only in this way can he avenge his sister's bloodshed. Then the two came to the dormitory of the 7th group of imitation pairs, which was also Yuki's new working place. After getting to know the other 3 girls in the team, then Yuki also got his new job, that is, as the administrator of this dormitory. Although this is a bit different from the Yuki imagination, but unfortunately men cannot become imitators, but at least then Yuki can maximize his all-round housework ability here. The male protagonist never imagined that one day he would be played with by girls like a figurine, and all this was due to this perverted Shushu. Even he turned him into a slave without authorization. Why should you let him become the administrator of this girl's dormitory? Although for Yuki, doing housework is the best thing he can do in his life, but you have to know that his dream is to become a hero. So what's the point of doing laundry and cooking for the little girl here every day? So in order to change the situation, the male lead had to protest to Yuzin. Regarding this, Yuzin didn't talk nonsense. She bluntly said that the time has not come yet, and there will naturally be a chance for Yuki to show off his skills in the future. Although Himari's behavior was a bit rough at this time, Yuzin also understood her dissatisfaction with Yuki. So in order to reassure many girls, he promised that if the male protagonist did any inappropriate behavior, she, the master, would definitely break Yuki's neck as soon as possible. Hearing these words, Yuki was dumbfounded. He had never hated this world where women are superior to men as much as he does now. In desperation, the male protagonist could only come to the lighthouse to relax, but he didn't expect that he happened to see the scene of Himari taking in the hot spring. In panic, he hurriedly hid, but little did he know that this scene was being watched by Shushu. Thanks to her ability to poop anywhere, she had the opportunity to see the true face of Yuki, B's true colors. Later, after taking pictures the evidence of Yuki's crime, Shushu finally revealed her nature. Although his saying goes, one slave cannot serve everyone. But if someone holds the handle of me, it's different. Yuki has no choice but to let Shushu do what he wants. He wanted to confess of this matter to Yuzin, but he didn't want to wait until he accidentally saw the scene of Yuzin and Himari practicing against each other. He changes his mind instantly. At this moment, Inai, who was a primary school student, suddenly told the Yuki the news that they were going to attend a meeting today, so he and Shushu had to stay to look after the house. Although Shushu in Inai's mouth was completely a good person, looking at Shushu's expression during this incident, Yuki only felt an ominous premonition. Sure enough, as soon as the others left, Shushu unscrupulously let Yuki act like a cow. During the conversation, Shushu also revealed his life experience. It turned out that he, as the youngest 3 sisters in his family, lost his father when he was a child. In addition, he had been studying in a girls' school, so he had always been full of ideas about men. Curious, and Yuki is the victim of his curiosity. Seeing that the atmosphere was good at this time, Shushu suddenly suggested that the two of them play a fighting game together, but the premise was that if they lose a round, they must take off one piece of clothing. Hearing these words, Yuki instantly became interested, and he vowed to wash away all the humiliation he had suffered before here. However, the ideal is very full, but the reality is very skinny. Every 2 rounds the male protagonist loses only 1 short. Seeing that he was unwilling to promise by the agreement, Shushu immediately grew bigger himself and promised to fulfill the bet for the male protagonist no matter what. But he didn't expect that a huge monster suddenly appeared outside at this time. This sudden accident naturally made Shushu very upset at having his good things interrupted, so he used his ability without saying a word. Seeing that monster had been beaten to a pulp, Shushu, who was exhausted, stretched subconsciously, but he didn't expect that the next second he would be attacked from behind by monster and fell to the ground. It turned out that there was still something hidden here. There was another monster, but it was too late to say anything now. Seeing that Shushu had gradually fallen into a disadvantage, Yuki panicked instantly. At this moment, he suddenly thought that he had transformed by kissing Yuzin's finger. If that was the case, did Yuzin's belongings also have the same effect? Without any time to think about it, Yuki first tried using gloves. Unexpectedly, it actually worked, but the effect was not obvious, so he had no choice but to continue trying. Next is Yuzin's short sleeves. This time the male protagonist clearly feels that he has shown signs of transformation, but he only has 1 foot, and it doesn't last long. At this point, Yuki had no choice but to turn his attention to the drac-encrusted boots. At the same time, Shushu, who was about to run out of physical strength, was still struggling outside. He thought he was doomed this time, but unexpectedly, he suddenly heard a roar from the distance. After experiencing this battle, Yuki's family status has undoubtedly been significantly improved, and Yuzin even massaged his body with her own hands. And although on the surface Shushu's attitude is still as bad as ever, behind the scenes the girl has changed her face. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this.